The gentleman with the long tights is a man named Dick Shikat, who had defeated, Jim Londos defeated for the world heavyweight title. There is this young fellow named Boesch playing a head scissor, and here you see now with that fast and speedy getaway. This is a Japanese arm lock applied by Shikat, and now a leg stretch applied by, or a leg split applied to Shikat. Shikat was from Germany. He was a tough man. He wrestled in Houston many, many times back in the 1930s, as did his brother Paul Shikat. And here you see the pressure being put on the foot. The only thing I envy about this picture is the hair. So Shikat is trying to make the ropes. Those ropes are tied together. This was a big ring in the Bronx Coliseum, and they were tied together in the hope of keeping people from falling through them. This shoulder butt, and here is Shikat being pursued and mauled around by the shoulder butt, which was, at that time, one of the holds I favored. Here is a ride-em cowboy type hold, a figure four body scissor. But now we shift to another match, if you'll pardon a quick change of site. This is the St. Nicholas Arena, which was torn down recently, incidentally, and was a famous landmark. And Jack Sherry, one of the leading heavyweight contenders and one of the old-time tough fellows, is my opponent on this occasion. Now you see various versions of a head scissor as Sherry tries to get out. Here is a rocking chair split. The men sitting around the ringside there are the press and judges, as required by the state of New York. And here I go again for the same rocking chair split and use of the shoulder butt and the flying tackle. Sherry was a tough individual and a hard man to wrestle, as anybody would tell you. And like all of our home movies, you've got to say one thing about it. They end properly. They just come apart. But if you were that old and you had been sitting around in an old box for that long, I think that you would probably appreciate the fact that almost anything can happen to you. I assure you, that wasn't in our... We have any more left of the film? We do? Well, we'll go back there again in just a minute. We'll show you that nothing is more indomitable than a man who wants to show home movies. So Sherry is still on the receiving end. And these pictures were taken by a friend of mine, I might add, or is that obvious? And he only took them when I was doing the assaulting. And some of these things that have happened to Sherry in this particular match, I'm happy to record, because men who knew him at that particular time wouldn't agree that they could be done. But Sherry, thank goodness, found himself on the canvas more times that night than he had in many and many a moon. How did the matches make out? Well, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But the hold right now is a hammerlock, as it was for a moment, and then Sherry found himself flipped over, even bust the string in his tights, which kept him busy for a while. Again, it's a hammerlock with Sherry on the receiving end, and here is that rocking chair split. Here is an arm stretch and all kinds of fast movement. There must have been something wrong with this film. I couldn't have been that fast. Here is Sherry again being pursued with a rolling front headlock, but he was a hard man to get down to that canvas, and an even more difficult one to do anything with.